You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. This is the first episode of, I guess, officially of like the playoff content with the 49ers. And like I said, I'm going to be trying to do daily episodes as long as the 49ers are in the playoffs. Hopefully they make it all the way, right? So hopefully we'll have plenty of content in the next month or so. But today I'm joined by a guest. I got is it like, do you prefer to be called Fernando or Nando? Like, how's it?
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't matter to me. So I've got Fernando.
Okay, yeah,
Nando.
Fern.
I'm good with it all.
I like Nando. I like
yeah?
Nando. I was like, that's a cool like.
I'm all about it. I'm good with Nando.
Right.
My father-in-law used to call me when I first started dating his daughter. He used to call me Orlando. And I swear he did it on purpose to annoy me, but I just acted like I didn't hear it, and I responded. And after a while, I was like, he'll remember my name eventually. So it worked out. So it doesn't matter to me. Call him. I'm good with Nando. I'm good with it.
All right, cool. So, and for those of you who don't know, if you guys ever listened to the Fourth and Gold podcast with Javi.
Yeah.
Nando was on there with him, and you guys had great chemistry, and we miss Fourth and Gold podcast.
Yeah.
So I know Javi always, he tries to get an episode here and there whenever he can. But yeah, we love it. So at least we're getting a little piece of that today, right? That Fourth and Gold magic. So
I think I told you to start. I had to dust off the microphone.
Yeah.
I got excited. I was working, and you messaged me, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. It's playoff time. I'm excited. Niner football. Let's talk. But yeah, he's a busy guy, but we still talk Niners. Him and I personally, message, phone calls, and it's what we do. We love the Niners. You love the Niners. So let's chop it up.
Exactly. Let's go. All right, well, we're going to start by talking about some of the 49ers news. Kyle Shanahan did talk to the media today, gave some updates on some of the injuries. First, he said that they do hope to get Dre Greenlaw back from his back injury at some point this week in practice, as well as left guard Aaron Banks. Both of those guys missed the regular season finale against the Cardinals. So both of those guys on track to be available to play on Saturday. Kyle Shanahan also said that defensive tackle Kevin Givens is good to go. So he's going to be back at practice this week as well. That's a huge boost for the interior of the defensive line. And Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, linebacker who was covering for Dre Greenlaw in that Cardinals game, he is day-to-day dealing with a neck sprain. But if Dre Greenlaw is back, and assuming and hoping that, the core three of Greenlaw, Fred Warner, and Aziz stay healthy,
Nice.
Hopefully Flannigan-Fowles, he can rest a week if he needs it. All right, man, we got to talk about this here game now that we know that the 49ers are playing the Seahawks.
Yes.
First, I guess I'm just curious to know how are you feeling about this matchup? Would you have rather played, either the Lions or Packers, or were the Seahawks kind of like your preferred choice here?
Well, I'll be honest. If you gave me the Lions, Packers, Seahawks, the team I'd be most afraid to play would be the Lions, and that is. Dan Campbell just has dogs. I mean, these guys play hard, and that's something that I don't think Green Bay's built like that. I mean, they don't grind that way. They don't play. And we've had success against Green Bay, and frankly, I wasn't worried. But it is one of those things. We've had such great success against Green Bay that it always makes you wonder, is this their week? Is any given Sunday? So that made me a little nervous just thinking about the past success. But overall, Green Bay is exactly who we thought they were. They are front runners, and frankly, they weren't front running very long. They had their little run towards the end of the season, but things got tough, and they went right back and they folded under pressure at home, right? So, I mean, I wasn't overly concerned with them. And Seattle's just, Seattle's a tough one for me. So I'm not overly excited to be playing them for a third time. I don't think in terms on paper, I mean, we have significantly more talent, in my opinion,
Right.
on paper. So this is a game that I think, especially, I mean, playoff Kyle, I'd imagine this. I mean, this seems like a great matchup for the Niners to really put their foot down. But it's still Seattle, and there's always, even though no one's there, right, from the past, it's still something that lingers in the back of your mind. It's Seattle, and hopefully they're not catching a dub this week. And frankly, I just don't think that's the case. Kyle's going to be in the bag. He's going to draw this up really, really nice. And I think it's going to be really hard for Seattle. So out of all three, I'm 100% cool with being, playing Seattle. I think that's the most favorable matchup anyway.
I think that's where I was too. I mean, of course, you're always with the mindset that anything can happen any given week, especially in the playoffs. Whatever happened in the regular seasons kind of goes out the door. In the playoffs, literally anything can happen. So yeah, it's kind of like you got to go into it with that mindset, knowing that anything can happen on any given Sunday. But if we had to choose, I think we would all be a little more comfortable going up against Seattle, just given, we've beat them twice in the regular season. Like I said, that doesn't matter.
Sure.
But just knowing that we've done that, and then two, on paper, it is the easier matchup. I mean, you talked up the Lions, Dan Campbell, like what they're doing over there. I think what they were able to do against the Packers in Lambeau with nothing to play for, I think tells you everything that Dan Campbell and that team stands for, and what they've been building over there, the culture that they've built. Everyone was laughing at Dan Campbell, including myself, when he was like, we're biting off ankles and things like that. But man, he's really turned it around. Like I'm a fan of what he's done over there. So
agreed.
I agree. Going up against the Lions, I mean, we've gone against Jared Goff before. We know he has limitations.
Exactly.
So in that sense, I think I would have been okay with it. But I'm with you. They're dogs. Like they play with that mentality that you have to have in the playoffs, a mentality very similar to the 49ers.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't want to go up against that. I'm with you there. And the Packers, again, just because anything can happen, it felt like the NFL wanted Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs.
Sure.
And so that concerned me as well, because, the NFL maybe saw an opportunity to sway some calls so that the game's more interesting than it should be. Let's try to get Aaron Rodgers to the next level. But, I think Seattle for sure is the preferred choice, I think, in this situation. And honestly, I think the fact that Seattle, I don't think a lot of people even expected them to make the playoffs, towards the end of the season at least. So the fact that they're even in, Geno Smith at quarterback, with everything that happened with Russell Wilson, I think that's already like the Cinderella story, just the fact that they made it. So I think, the NFL is okay with that. And I think that's why they scheduled it as the early game. They're probably not expecting it to be very close. So there's no excuses for the Niners.
Sure. And that's the thing, is really there's no excuses, because at the end of the day, if the Seattle Seahawks lose, like you said, they're still a Cinderella story. No one had them pegged to go to the playoffs, especially in the NFC-west. I mean, there's a good chance if you were writing this out to start the year, you put them in the cellar of the NFC-west to start the season. And to see them start the year 6-3, that's pretty crazy. Just with Geno Smith, this guy has just been, thrown under the rug, swept under the rug. No one really even thought about Geno Smith anymore. And now he's out there and he had a great year. Didn't he just pass Russell Wilson?
Passing yards.
Yeah, passing yards in a season, which is wild to think about, but then you see the through some injuries that they've had as well, teeter-tottering and kind of slipping a little bit towards the end of the season, finishing 3-5. But they're going to play hard. Pete Carroll's going to have them ready to go too. And the fact that it's just a divisional rival, I just think it's going to make for interesting football. I hope within the first few minutes you get the sense that, hey, we're going to go out there and really, really give it to them. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little closer than what we hope for. Hopefully the defense tightens up a little bit, especially in the first half, and they don't keep it close. But we've been on those where we've statistically are dominating. But for some reason, they're only a touchdown down or only 3 points because we weren't able to get in the end zone. But if we can get in there quick and early, I think it's going to be really tough on Seattle, especially with those injuries on defense. Their middle linebacker gone for the year. I mean, it's going to be tough for them to handle this offense, especially the way Brock's playing right now, the way he's distributing the football. And Elijah Mitchell's back. The running game is going to be in full force, and that's something that Seattle doesn't defend really well. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is just Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell just gashing Seattle's defense for yards.
Right. And that would honestly, I think that would be the perfect way to go in this game for Kyle Shanahan. Like if everything goes as he would want it, it would be winning on the ground and not showing too much play calling wise, you know. But as we know, like anything can happen and things can change, right? So it may not go that way, but I know that would be the ideal game plan for Kyle Shanahan. Now, as far as this being the third time that the 49ers are seeing the Seahawks this season, the last time that the 49ers went undefeated, beat a team twice in the regular season and then had to face them in the playoffs, they went home. That was in the NFC Championship game against the Rams. I gotta imagine that the taste, they still have the bad taste in their mouths from that game. They have to, and for many reasons, you know. And so I can't imagine that they go into this game thinking everything is sweet just because we beat them the last two times. Kyle Shanahan said today he's not looking at it as the 49ers having to beat the Seahawks 3 times. He said their only goal is to beat them on Sunday, and that's it. So I like that mindset. I hope everyone on the team has that same mindset. Again, like I would imagine that they do, because you can't assume just because, you know, you punched a team in the mouth twice in the regular season that it's going to be the same. It should be the same, right?
It should
be.
It should
be. Really should.
Definitely.
But it doesn't always work that way. And, you know, anything can happen in the playoffs, so you can't take any opponent lightly. So, do you have any worries at all about this being a potential repeat of the NFC Championship game, playing an NFC-west opponent, no less? They know each other very well. This is the first time that Brock Purdy is facing a defense that has seen him twice now. So, you know, that's another aspect to it. Is there any concern for you?
You know, I don't have the Rams concern, because going into that in general, you know, you thought about, hey, this is the NFC Championship, and you know what, the Niners beat them twice, but if the Rams just win that one, that means a lot more than the two that we had won previously. And, you know, be able to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl and then see them win it. I mean, that's gut wrenching. But this 49er team has been on a mission, and despite injuries, there have been no excuses, and they go out there and they're physical and they play their brand of football, no matter who's under center, no matter what, who's gone for that week. I mean, they have navigated injury after injury, and here they are getting healthy again at the right time and having their third string quarterback go out there. And I'll be honest with you, I thought the Niners were going to make a ton of phone calls and who can they possibly get under center at this point, because they didn't want the season to be derailed. And when they just kind of stayed pat, I was like, man, they must feel really good. They must feel really, really good about Brock. And so I'm going to give them, because, you know, if Kyle wanted it, they would have made some calls, and they didn't, and they stood pat. And here we are, a quarterback who has been very efficient, who has gone through and really surprised us all. But my worries in anything is, yes, this is the third time. And like you mentioned, this is the second time, even though this defense statistically isn't anything special, it's the second time they're going to be playing Brock. And they could cause some ring. And I'd imagine they're going to try and get after him really quick early in this game to get him off. But the reality for this situation for us, I think it's more, you know, what are we bringing to the table? Because if we're out there executing, I just don't see how Seattle keeps up. I don't see how they keep up offensively if the defense is doing their thing. But the one thing right now, I think, is the pass defense. And that scares me a little bit, because they're going to throw the ball. See, you know, Seattle's not, they have not been running the ball very well. They're going to throw it, and they've got some playmakers out there. And look, I like Deommodore Lenoir, but he's gone through it a little bit. I mean, every time there seems to be man coverage, these offenses are just throwing it deep and some good things are happening. Something not necessarily always his fault. He's been around the ball a little bit lately, so they've been calling his name that he's getting burnt here and there. But that's my one worry, that this is the defense has been giving up some long third downs. They're airing it out on us, and that's the scary part for me. Especially, it's a playoff game, and the last thing we want to be giving are those big home run plays. If we can keep it to where it has been in like 49er brand football, that defense in the past, if you could make a team try and methodically drive down the field, they're not gonna be able to do that. But if you give them the home run play, and right now, whether it's Hufanga making bad reads or missing tackles or Lenore getting beat deep on one-on-one type of situations, that's where I think we're going to need to make some adjustments. But I'd imagine where DeMeco's going to have them ready to go and kind of disguise different things, show man, drop in the zone, do a lot of different stuff. But they're ready for it. But that's my one concern, is just the way the defense has looked the past couple of weeks, especially in the passing game.
That's my concern as well. And I think a part of it is teams know they can't run on this team, so they don't even try anymore. So we're seeing a lot of teams passing on the 49ers. So with that, I think you're naturally going to get a lot of passing plays. But still, you're getting explosive plays, and early in the game as well. And so that's what I think they can't have happen. I do feel like Demico Ryan likes to kind of just see what opponents want to do, in the first half, to just kind of then adjust accordingly. And I've noticed that, but those huge touchdown plays that they've been giving up as of late, I think you can't have that happen, especially in the playoffs. You have to clamp down at this point. And Diamador Lenore, yes, I am concerned with him. I'm not sure what you do with him at this point. He's already played this much. And if you were to remove him, and let's say Janoris Jenkins is not who you really thought he might be in doing a swap, then you go back to Lenore, who has his confidence shot. So that's the risk. I think that's why we haven't seen them pull Lenore to this point. And also Ambry Thomas. A lot of people are like, well, why isn't Ambry Thomas out there? He's been dealing with an ankle injury. And quite frankly, from what I've seen in these last 2 years of Ambry Thomas, and I saw him in training camp as well, he's not very good. I'm sorry. If he were to go in there and he was good, like, I would eat those words, right? I'd be happy to eat crow. But from what I've seen, I would have to imagine that is another reason why we haven't seen Ambry Thomas, in addition to him dealing with his ankle injury. Now, I think what's most concerning to me, more so than Lenore, like I said, the explosives that they've given up, and also not being able to get off the field on third down. That's been an issue all season, really. Even when they were playing some really good defense early on in the season, not getting off the field was an issue, and it continues to be an issue. So that's more of a unit-wide thing. It's not just one player. So I think that's a concern I have. But, DeMeco has to figure this out if they want to make it deep into the playoffs. And, I have faith that they do, right? Now, DeMeco's getting a lot of head coaching consideration.
A lot of love,
I would assume that, he wants to put a little extra out there to sweeten the deal a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He deserves to get all of the, consideration for head coaching jobs that he's getting. But it's always nice to just remind them one more time why he should be the leading candidate. And not every head coaching candidate has the opportunity to show that in the playoffs, right? Get these extra games. So I think DeMeco's going to try to show out as much as he can. Yes, Melissa, it's DZ in the building.
What's up, Melissa?
She says, good to see you, Steph. Hope you're enjoying Victory Monday. Absolutely, we are. And if you guys haven't yet, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned, doing daily episodes all through the playoffs. So make sure you guys like this video. We're going to have much more content for you.
Yeah.
But on the topic of Demico Ryan's, getting some head coaching consideration, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, we knew the writing was on the wall for quite some time. He was getting interview requests even, last season as well. So we knew the time was coming. He's gotten interview requests from the Broncos and I believe even the Texans. Now we've seen reports that for the Texans, he may not be interested in that job, which I don't blame him too much,
Yeah.
But if he were to leave, like, do you have any what options do the 49ers have as replacements?
Oh, geez. To be honest with you, Steph, I haven't even started thinking about who they might want to try and bring in, or is there somebody internally that they think's a good option? I haven't really even thought about it. I've got my fingers crossed that DeMeco stays one more year. I've got my fingers crossed on that one. I don't know if that's the case because he's got some. Denver's a great opportunity for him if he's able to land something like that with that young defense. I like that for him, but it feels like it wasn't too long ago where there were so many question marks in the media as to what could DeMeco actually do. Is he going to be able to step in here and replace Robert? How is he going to perform? And he silenced everybody pretty quickly, and he's been very special. And one of the things you mentioned was his halftime adjustments, because that's, I think, where you really make your money, both on the offense side, but especially defense. Are you able to make those adjustments in coverage and whatnot? And he's been able to dial up really nicely, whether it's bringing blitzes or disguising coverages. I mean, DeMeco's been special. So he deserves whatever he can get. I'm hoping that we go on this wonderful run and we hold up a trophy when it's all said and done. And he decides, let's run this back. I got a great defense. I got these guys, and I'll get this job. I'll get this job whenever I want, and I want the right job. And I would I'd hate to see him go to the Texans, to be honest with you. I'd hate to see that. I just think he's better than that. But I haven't thought about replacements. I mean, was there anybody that you thought of? Because I really haven't. I've been enamored with this defense. I've loved watching them all season, and how they play for each other. And every time we need something, they find a way to get a big turnover. And one of my things, just thinking about this defense and maybe some of the criticism with the passing yards and this and that, and we're also getting turnovers at a rate that we haven't seen in a very long time. So it's a little bit of like yin and yang type of thing. We're really out there turning the ball over, which means we're being really aggressive on defense, and we're going to give up some of those types of plays. Can we limit them? Can we stop people on third down? I think there's definitely things we could do to kind of patch that up. But I really like this defense and how aggressive they are, because they make it tough. They make it tough, and they're getting turnover. So it's hard to really nitpick at them moving forward. But DeMeco's a special talent, and I was so happy when he got the job. And I'd hate to see that end already. I'd love at least one more run at it.
I would too. And like Mike says here in the comments, he said DeMeco should be picky, and absolutely.
Real picky.
I mean, he's proven to be a guy who is going to be a catch for whatever team he goes to. And because of that, I think he can be picky. And I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing these reports. He doesn't want to go to the Texans. The Texans have, in back-to-back seasons, have fired a head coach. That's not where he deserves to go, quite frankly. And I'm glad he knows that. I'm glad he knows his worth and isn't just desperate to go to any head coaching opportunity that comes his way. And, to your point, I think that could, give some way for Demico Ryan to possibly return next season. It's probably less likely, we really don't want to imagine him being gone. I think that's just it.
That's me.
But, I think that there's always that possibility. If the Texans, isn't where he wants to go, let's say Denver, he interviews with them, doesn't really like what he's hearing from them, or, the Broncos are looking at a lot of other top candidates as well, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh. So if they go another route too, and all of a sudden he doesn't have as many options as he would like, that could also be another reason he decides to come back. So he can wait. He can wait if he wants to. I don't know if he will. We hope so. We hope so. For
the
selfish
fingers
reasons,
crossed for it. But again, if he gets a great opportunity, like you're saying, I'd be extremely happy for him. I mean, he deserves whatever he's going to get, and he's earned the right to be picky. He doesn't need to just take a job because, oh, this is going to be my only chance to be a head coach, because I think he's made a great name for himself as a defensive coordinator, and he's going to get a shot. And it's just a matter of, does he feel it's the right fit for him? I thought the Jets for Saleh was a perfect fit. I thought that just made a lot of sense. And if there's something like that comes up for him, then great. But I like seeing him on the sideline. I like seeing him run this defense, and I'd hate for it to be over already.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like his time with the Niners it just blew by so fast. But it just speaks to how good he's been, right? That, in after 1 year, he was already getting interviews, right? So Daniel here in the comments says, "Hey Steph, you're doing your thing. Keep at it. Let's aim for Vic Fangio. Bring him back." Now, you asked me earlier, who would I have thought to bring in as a replacement? And this would be my option, right? Vic Fangio. He's been around the team, obviously, in the years that he was defensive coordinator, but even as recent as this offseason in like I don't know if it was training camp. I think it was like just early in the season, he was hanging out with the team. And he would be at the facility watching practice. So, the 49ers, I think, were always kind of had him in mind. And they, again, had the foresight to kind of include him early to say, hey, like, nudge, nudge, like, we're interested in you. We know Demico Ryan's is probably not going to be back, but hey, look at our guys. I mean, look at who we have here. You'll have a great time. And it's very likely that with this group, with this team, Kyle Shanahan at head coach, you're also going to have the opportunity to become a head coach again, right? So I think that it would be a perfect scenario for all involved if Vic Fangio returns. The fact that he was even hanging out at the facility, I think, tells you that they've buried the hatchet from whatever happened, back then. So that would be my number one choice.
Yeah. I mean, Vic we remember that defense. We remember those years with that defense that Vic was running the show. So, I mean, I'd be all right with that. Also, I mean, just think about this organization right now, though. I mean, the talent that's here, these coaches getting gigs, right? The under Kyle Shanahan's tree now, and the success that they're having as well at their, whether it's Miami, even the Jets. Look, I mean, that I don't blame Robert at all. I mean, they need a quarterback. They need a capable quarterback. Is that Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't know. But that the Jets are really, in my opinion, a capable quarterback away from being a very successful team. Probably should have been in the playoffs, except for that, was it 6 straight losses, or I don't know what it was towards the end of the season. But I mean, Kyle Shanahan's putting together quite a tree of successful coaches moving forward. So it just shows where this organization's at, what they've built, and the longevity to be able to go ahead and, all right, you get a job. All right, we bring in another D coordinator. Look at the success he's having. All right, boom. It's just a nice place to be right now as a 49er fan, to see this organization and all this talent, and to see everybody asking for interviews for our coaches. I think it speaks volumes to what Kyle and John have kind of put together.
Yeah, absolutely. And RJ in the comments said, I got a feeling Fangio would link up with Harbaugh again, maybe in Denver.
Oh.
Here's why I don't think that would happen. You got to remember, Vic Fangio was the head coach in Denver. And so I don't know if they've quite patched things up yet. We do know that he's patched things up with the 49ers, but I don't know if he would return to Denver. In fact, I think I remember seeing Ben Albright, Denver reporter and NFL reporter. I think he said that he doesn't think Fangio would come back to Denver. So I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's something internal. I also wouldn't be surprised. So but Vic would be cool.
That's a great point, because I don't think any of us really thought DeMeco would get the job or would be the leading candidate for the DC job after Saleh left. But obviously, the 49ers know what they have in the building. So there could be a guy, there could be a guy in the building. They're big on coaching from within. So or promoting from within. So we'll just have to see. Speaking of promoting from within, and talking about Adam Peters here, because he's getting once again getting GM consideration as he should. But I would hate to lose Adam Peters.
He can't. I don't think you
can. You can't lose.
Just can't. I mean, I think most people would agree. I mean, he's probably the brainchild behind all of this, and whether they're creating a role for him or what, I mean, they've through their actions, the 49ers organization has, I believe, made it pretty clear that they want him. They value him. They're going to figure out something. And all this does, him being asked to come out and interview, is, really make the 49ers press a little bit. And what do they need to do to get him? How do we keep him? How do we keep him? And that's where it gets really interesting, seeing let's see how this season finishes, but what are they going to have to do to keep him? And I think you got to do whatever it is that you got to do. But, I don't know between him and John Lynch and where everything kind of goes from here, but you need to keep him. You need to find a way to do that. You can't let that man walk out the door. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of fans have floated the idea of John Lynch either getting another role within the team, within the org, and then promoting Adam Peters. I think that feels like the most natural move to make. Now, whether John Lynch wants to even do that, I don't know. There were also rumors swirling last offseason that he's getting TV offers, right? So that's always on the table for John Lynch. If the 49ers win the Super Bowl, of course, I feel like John Lynch would feel better walking away, having done that. And I thought John Lynch had a great year, as GM. So don't necessarily want to lose him either. But if you had to choose between John Lynch and Adam Peters, I think you gotta go Adam Peters, because like you said, he's kind of been the brains behind it all.
Yeah. Hey, look, John's a great guy. You hear him talk, and he's so passionate, and he works so hard at trying to excel at whatever it is he's doing, whether that's in the booth or on the field or behind a desk in an organization. And you see the passion when he walks on the field after a big win, and how he's celebrating, with the players. So you'd hate to lose any of those guys. But the hard part is, when you're as successful as the 49ers have been, that everyone's trying to pull at the seams and get those individuals that they think are the smart people in the room. And Adam Peters is one of those guys that the league knows is a smart dude, and any organization would be lucky to have him. Fortunately, we have him, so at least the ball's in our court, and they've just got to find a way to navigate through this and keep him.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we'll find out more through these coming weeks. We'll keep tabs on it. So would you be down to join next Monday? I'm putting you on the spot. I'll ask you again later.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it, man. Yeah, and hopefully we're talking about a Victory Monday next.
I need that Victory Monday. So we need nothing somber here. Let's go.
Yeah, we need that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nando, for joining today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like this video. Make sure you guys subscribe. Like I said, going to be doing daily videos throughout the 49ers playoffs. So there's going to be another show tomorrow as well. Make sure you guys tune into that, and have a good rest of your Monday, people. Peace.